First, we agreed to do more together to encourage the entrepreneurship. And innovation that are at the heart of modern, competitive economies. We had an excellent discussion with a number of pioneering business leaders who reiterated the recipe for attracting trade and investment: rule of law, transparency. Protection of intellectual property, efficient customs, modern infrastructure, e-commerce and the free flow of information. Support for small and medium-sized businesses, and perhaps most importantly, investment in people, investment in strong schools to educate and train the next generation. Around the table, there was widespread recognition that this is the path ASEAN countries need to continue on. As they do, it will create even more opportunities for trade and investment between the US and ASEAN countries. I affirmed our strong support for the ASEAN community and pledged that the United States will continue to be a partner in ASEAN's efforts to integrate economies and reduce barriers to trade and investment. I'm also announcing a new initiative U.S. ASEAN Connect, a network of hubs across the region to better coordinate our economic engagement and connect more of our entrepreneurs, investors, and businesses with each other. We're also doing more to help aspiring innovators in the region learn English. The international language of business. And I reiterated that the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which includes 4 ASEAN members, can advance economic integration across ASEAN and set stronger rules for trade throughout the Asia-Pacific. To that end, we've launched a new effort to help all ASEAN countries understand the key elements of TPP. as well as the reforms that could eventually lead to them joining. Second, with regard to security, the United States and ASEAN are reaffirming our strong commitment to a regional, order where international rules and norms and the rights of all nations, large and small, are upheld. We discussed the need for tangible steps in the South China Sea to lower tensions. Including a halt to further reclamation, new construction, and militarization of disputed areas. Freedom of navigation must be upheld and lawful commerce should not be impeded. I reiterated that the United States will continue to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows, and we will support the right of all countries to do the same. We will continue to help our allies and partners strengthen their maritime capabilities. And we discussed how any disputes between claimants in the region must be resolved peacefully. Through legal means, such as the upcoming arbitration ruling under the U. N Convention of the Law of the Seas, which the parties are obligated to respect and abide by. Third, I made it clear that the United States will continue to stand with those across Southeast Asia who are working to advance rule of law, good governance, accountable institutions, and the universal human rights of all people. We continue to encourage a return to civilian rule in Thailand. We will sustain our engagement with the people of Myanmar as a new president is selected. And as they work to implement the ceasefire agreement and move forward with national reconciliation. Across the region, we'll continue to stand with citizens and civil society and defend their freedom of speech, of assembly, and of the press. No one, including those in political opposition, should ever be detained or imprisoned simply for speaking their mind. That only stymies progress, only makes it harder for countries to truly thrive and prosper. And finally, the United States and ASEAN are doing more to deal with transnational challenges together. I offered our assistance to help ASEAN countries better leverage. Interpol data to prevent the flow of foreign terrorist fighters. We agree that implementing the Paris Climate Change Agreement. Including helping developing countries adapt to and mitigate the impacts of climate change. Will be critical, and it will enable them to leap ahead to new and affordable clean energy. As we pursue our sustainable development goals, we're launching a new competition and innovation. Challenge to encourage students across ASEAN to develop new solutions to boost agriculture. We're moving ahead with our global health security agenda to prevent future epidemics. And I pledged additional U.S. assistance to help ASEAN combat the horror of human trafficking. So, to sum up, I believe this summit has put the U.S. ASEAN partnership on a new trajectory that will carry us to even greater heights in the decades ahead. America's foreign policy rebalance to the Asia-Pacific, including Southeast Asia. Will continue to be a foreign policy priority of my presidency. I look forward to visiting Vietnam for the first time in May and to becoming the first U.S. president to visit Laos when it hosts the East Asia Summit in September. And I'm confident that whoever the next president may be will build on the foundation that we've laid. Because there's strong, sustained, bipartisan support for American engagement in the Asia-Pacific region. And through our Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, our investment in young people. In their business success, and civil society and grassroots leaders across the region, I believe. Will further bind us together in a spirit of partnership and friendship for many years to come. So, with that, let me take a few questions. And I'm going to start with Darlene Superville of the Associated Press. Where is Darlene? There she is. Question, thank you, Mr. President. My question is about the Supreme Court. President Obama, I'm shocked. Question, what recourse do you have if Leader McConnell blocks a vote on your Supreme Court nominee? And do you think that if you choose someone moderate enough, that Republicans might change course and schedule a vote? And as you consider that choice and who to nominate, what qualities are important to you, and is diversity among them? Thank you. President Obama, first of all, I want to reiterate heartfelt condolences to the Scalia family. Obviously, Justice Scalia and I had different political orientations. And probably would have disagreed on the outcome of certain cases. But there's no doubt that he was a giant on the Supreme Court, helped to shape the legal landscape. He was, by all accounts, a good friend and loved his family deeply. And so it's important, before we rush into all the politics of this, to take stock of somebody who made enormous contributions to the United States. And we are grateful not only for his service but for his family's service. The Constitution is pretty clear about what is supposed to happen now. When there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court, the President of the United States is to nominate someone. The Senate is to consider that nomination. And either they disapprove of that nominee or that nominee is elevated to the Supreme Court. Historically, this has not been viewed as a question. There's no unwritten law that says that it can only be. Done on off years. That's not in the constitutional text. I'm amused when I hear people who claim to be strict interpreters of the Constitution suddenly reading into it a whole series of provisions that are not there. There is more than enough time for the Senate to consider in a thoughtful way the record of a nominee that I present and to make a decision. And with respect to our process, we're going to do the same thing that we did. With respect to Justice Kagan's nomination and Justice Sotomayor's nomination, we're going to find somebody who has an outstanding legal mind. Somebody who cares deeply about our democracy and cares about rule of law. There's not going to be any particular position on a particular issue that determines whether or not I nominate them. But I'm going to present somebody who indisputably is qualified for the seat, and any fair-minded person Even somebody who disagreed with my politics would say would serve with honor and integrity on the court. Now, part of the problem that we have here is we've almost gotten accustomed to how obstructionist the Senate has become when it comes to nominations. I've got 14 nominations that have been pending that were unanimously approved by the Judiciary Committee, so Republicans and Democrats on the Judiciary Committee all agreed that they were well qualified for the position. And yet we can't get a vote on those individuals. So in some ways, this argument is just an extension of what we've seen in the Senate. Generally, and not just on judicial nominees. The basic function of government requires that the President of the United States in his or her duties, has a team of people, cabinet secretaries. Assistant secretaries that can carry out the basic functions of government. It requires, the Constitution requires that we appoint judges so that they can carry out their functions as a separate branch of government. And the fact that we've almost grown accustomed to a situation that is almost unprecedented. Where every nomination is contested, everything is blocked regardless of how qualified the person is. Even when there's no ideological objection to them, certainly where there's no disqualifying actions by the nominee that have surfaced. The fact that it's that hard, that we're even discussing this, is, I think, a measure of how unfortunately, the venom and rancor in Washington has prevented us from getting basic work done. This would be a good moment for us to rise above that.